The emergency was contained, but Karen's crisis was just beginning. By Sunday morning, her phone had exploded with notifications. The neighborhood Facebook group buzzed with grainy videos of her backyard inferno, complete with crying, laughing emojis and comments like "HOA Karen learns karma is real, and maybe she should check her own violations first." Sitting at her kitchen table, still in her bathrobe at 2 p.m., Karen scrolled through the messages with growing horror. Someone had already created a meme using her shocked face from the Ring doorbell footage, captioned, "When you're the problem you're trying to solve." "Dave, they're making me look like a fool," she whimpered, holding up her phone to show him a TikTok with 50,000 views titled "HOA President Burns Down Own Yard." "Honey, maybe this is a sign that you should ease up on the neighbor stuff," Dave suggested gently, refilling her coffee. Mrs. Chen brought over casserole earlier. The Martinezes offered to help with cleanup. "People aren't actually mad." "Not mad?" Karen's voice cracked. "Linda Prescott just posted that she's calling an emergency HOA meeting to discuss my fitness for leadership." She used air quotes, Dave, air quotes. Her phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Whitmore, this is Janet Holmes from Channel 7 News. We'd love to interview you about yesterday's incident. Our viewers are fascinated by the irony of an HOA president." Karen hung up immediately, her hands shaking. This was spiraling out of control. She needed damage control, and she needed it fast. Opening her laptop, she began drafting an email to that HOA board, then stopped. What could she possibly say? That she'd confused gasoline for lighter fluid while conducting routine property inspections. That her quest for perfect rule enforcement had nearly burned down 3 properties. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw Mrs. Chen holding a covered dish, Mr. Martinez with a rake, and several other neighbors. They looked concerned, not angry. "Karen, dear, we brought lunch," Mrs. Chen called through the door. "And some hands to help clean up." This was not the angry mob Karen had expected. She opened the door hesitantly. "We're not here to gloat," Mr. Martinez said firmly. "Everyone makes mistakes. Big ones, sometimes." Mrs. Johnson stepped forward, the same Mrs. Johnson whose garden gnome Karen had tried to have removed just last month. "Karen, you care about this neighborhood. We all know that. But maybe there's a better way to show it than measuring our rose bushes with a ruler." As her neighbors filed into her damaged backyard with cleaning supplies and kind words, Karen felt something she hadn't experienced in years: genuine community support. But it came with an uncomfortable realization. They were helping her despite her behavior, not because of it. "I owe you all an apology," she began, her voice small. "I've been difficult." "You've been thorough," Mrs. Chen corrected diplomatically, earning a few chuckles from the group. But as they worked together, clearing debris and assessing damage, Karen noticed something troubling. Her prized security camera, the one that had captured her humiliating moment, was missing from its mount. In its place was a small note: "We need to talk. A concerned neighbor." The explosion sent Karen Whitmore's prize-winning petunias flying through the air like purple confetti, and for one horrifying moment, she thought her carefully manicured world was ending. The Weber grill that had been perfectly positioned 3 feet from her property line, exactly regulation distance according to Sunset Meadows' HOA bylaws, now resembled a twisted metal sculpture that would definitely violate aesthetic guidelines. "Oh no, oh no, oh no," Karen shrieked, her clipboard cluttering to the ground as she watched flames lick at her neighbor's fence. The same fence she'd spent 6 months trying to get painted a more community-appropriate shade of beige. This was not how her Saturday inspection rounds were supposed to go. As the newly elected HOA president, Karen had planned to spend the morning documenting violations. Mrs. Chen's roses, that dared to grow 2 inches over the sidewalk, the Johnsons' unauthorized garden gnome, and that ridiculous basketball hoop the Martinez family had installed without proper permits. Instead, she was now watching her own backyard barbecue turn into a neighborhood fire hazard. "Karen!" Her husband Dave came running from the house, fire extinguisher in hand. "What did you do?" "I followed the manual exactly," she defended, frantically waving her laminated copy of PHOA-approved outdoor cooking guidelines. She'd afford herself. The grill was positioned correctly, the propane tank was regulation size, and I used only community-approved lighter fluid. They've sprayed foam everywhere while Karen stood frozen, her mind racing through potential violations she might be committing. Was an active fire considered a nuisance disturbance? Did the smoke cloud exceed the permitted visibility limitations outlined in Section 4.7? The fire department arrived within minutes, their red truck sirens definitely violating the neighborhood's noise ordinance. Karen made a mental note to address that later. Fire Chief Rodriguez approached, shaking his head as he surveyed the damage. "Ma'am, did you perhaps use gasoline instead of lighter fluid?" he asked, noting the intensity of the still smoldering debris. Karen's face went pale. She remembered grabbing the red container from Dave's garage, the one sitting right next to, "Oh dear. That's not possible," she stammered, but her voice wavered. She'd been so focused on measuring distances and checking wind direction according to her safety protocols that she hadn't actually read the label. As neighbors began gathering, phones out and recording, Karen realized this incident would spread through the community WhatsApp group faster than the flames had spread through her prize-winning landscaping. Her reputation as the neighborhood's rule enforcement expert was literally going up in smoke. "Mrs. Whitmore," Chief Rodriguez continued, "I'm afraid I'll need to write up an incident report. This level of negligence could result in some serious citations." Citations. The word hit Karen like a physical blow. She, the enforcer of rules, was about to become the violator. Monday morning brought a new crisis that made Karen's barbecue disaster look like a minor inconvenience. She found the missing security camera on her doorstep with a USB drive and another note. "Check your recordings from the past 6 months. You're not the only one breaking rules. Emergency HOA meeting tonight. Come prepared." Karen's hands trembled as she plugged in the drive. Hours of footage revealed what she'd been too focused on rule violations to notice. Late-night meetings between board members in the community park, handshake deals with contractors, and money changing hands. Her obsessive documentation had accidentally captured evidence of something much bigger than unauthorized garden gnomes. The footage showed Linda Prescott, the very woman calling for Karen's removal, accepting envelopes from the landscaping company that had won every HOA contract for the past 3 years. Other board members were involved too, approving expensive emergency repairs that seemed to benefit only their personal properties. "Dave, look at this," Karen whispered, replaying a conversation between Linda and the contractor. "They've been embezzling HOA funds. All those fees I've been helping collect, they're stealing them. They've studied the screen. Karen, this is serious. This is federal crime serious." The anonymous note made sense now. Someone knew Karen's reputation for thorough documentation and rule following made her the only board member who could expose this without suspicion. But it also meant walking into tonight's meeting as both accused and accuser. At 7 p.m., Karen entered the community center where angry neighbors filled every seat. Linda Prescott stood at the podium, smiling confidently. "We're here to discuss Karen Whitmore's fitness for leadership," Linda announced. "Her reckless endangerment of our community." "Actually," Karen interrupted, standing up with her laptop. "We're here to discuss your fitness for leadership, Linda." The room fell silent. Karen connected her computer to the projector, her heart pounding, but her voice steady. "For months, I've been documenting every rule violation in this neighborhood," she began. "What I didn't realize was that I was also documenting crimes." The first video played, Linda accepting cash from the contractor. Gasps echoed through the room. $12,000 in kickbacks, Karen continued, for contracts that inflated costs by 40%. "While I was measuring your hedges, Linda was stealing your money." Chaos erupted. Board members tried to leave, but found neighbors blocking the exits. Linda's face had gone white. "This is doctored," Linda protested. Karen's desperate to save her position. "Mrs. Chen, didn't you question why your special assessment for parking lot repairs was so high?" Karen asked. The elderly woman nodded. The actual cost was half what you paid. The difference went to board members' personal property improvements. More footage played, more evidence, more angry neighbors realizing they'd been systematically robbed by the very people they trusted to protect their investments. Police arrived within the hour. Someone had called them during the meeting. As Linda and 2 other board members were led away in handcuffs, Karen stood amid the chaos, still holding her laptop. "Karen," Mrs. Martinez approached cautiously. "What happens now?" "Now we rebuild," Karen replied, surprised by her own certainty. "We create an HOA that actually serves the community instead of ruling it." But as the crowd dispersed and Karen packed up her evidence, she noticed something unsettling. The anonymous note writer had never revealed themselves. Someone in this community had been watching everything: the corruption, her obsessive rule enforcement, even her barbecue disaster, and pulling strings from the shadows. As she walked to her car, Karen found one final note on her windshield: "Well done, Karen. But the real game is just beginning. The corruption goes deeper than you think. Trust no one, especially not the new board members who'll volunteer tomorrow." Karen looked back at the community center, where neighbors still clustered in heated discussions about elections and reforms. Tomorrow, new leaders would emerge to fill the vacant positions. But which ones could she trust? And more importantly, who had been orchestrating this entire revelation? She'd spent months hunting for rule violations and accidentally uncovered a criminal conspiracy. Now someone expected her to uncover something even bigger. The woman who'd nearly burned down her neighborhood with a barbecue mishap was apparently the community's best hope for justice. Karen drove home with more questions than answers, unaware that from a darkened window across the street, someone was already planning the next move in a game she didn't even know she was playing.